And welcome back here to Versus Live by StarCityGames.com. I'm Ross Merriam. It's Todd Anderson. We are preparing for the StarCityGames.com Open in Cincinnati. This weekend, it's team constructed. We just did a nice little standard match where Todd browned me. And now we're moving on to Modern, where hopefully I can get one back and we can play for some marbles in Legacy. And this is a matchup that I think favors me. Todd's going to be playing Grixis Shadow. I'm going to be playing Humans. I think Grixis Shadow, when it was dominant, it was around the time when Fatal Push was new enough that the metagame hadn't quite adjusted to it and it was really well positioned in the format because everyone was used to playing threats that matched up well against Lightning Bolt and Path to Exile. So Fatal Push was this really new thing that put the format into flux for a while, and Shadow was the deck that benefited the most from that once it was developed. Then we saw these decks developed that were really good against Fatal Push, the Hollow One and Humans, and those two decks sort of suppressed Shadow for a while. Now we've seen the return of Thing in the Ice because Fatal Push got pushed out of the metagame, and is it Phoenix? And now this deck can return because Fatal Push matches up so well against Thing.
Now, I want to go into a bit of detail here on why the two decks actively made Fatal Push bad. Now, first of all, Fatal Push against Humans is not a bad card, right? Fatal Push against Hollow One is a very bad card. The cards just don't line up well. Like Hollow One, Gurmag Angler don't die to it.
Just kills Flameblade Adept.
But like cards like Bloodghast and the Flamewake Phoenix come back from the graveyard over and over. So traditional spot removal is not very good against them. Now, the Humans deck does this thing we like to call overloading. And whenever we use the term overload, we mean we're just deploying too many threats for the amount of answers that are in response to it. And while Fatal Push does kill basically every creature in the deck, you don't have enough of that effect to be able to consistently overwhelm the Humans deck, not only because they have such a low land count, but because a lot of those lands actually cycle, like Rising Canopy, and everything in your deck costs 1, 2, or 3, which means a lot of times you can deploy 3 threats before I'm able to kill like 1 creature.
Yeah, you really get punished for all the turns you spend casting Serum Visions and Thought Scour. Yeah. Any turn you cast a Gurmag Angler and it gets Reflector Mage, that's a huge deal. Your deck is built to operate on a low land count, so Thalia is a problem. There's a lot of issues with the Humans matchup. And, Mantis Rider is a card that matches up pretty well against Fatal Push. Forces you to have the fetch land, answer it. Card that can put you under a lot of pressure, punish you for having all these shock lands in your deck.
Yep, and it's flying, so it gets over Gurmag and Death Shadow. So if it's getting in the last points of damage, there's not a lot I can do about it outside of killing it. This is not a good matchup. I expect that I'm going to lose pretty handily. I might be able to steal one game if my draw is really good, but I think that game needs to be game 1. Your sideboard particularly has one card that I just can't beat. Now, Auriok Champion is a card that's seeing a lot more play out of the sideboard from these Humans decks because it has protection from red and black, which are 2 of the most played colors right now in Modern, and B, it gains some precious life points in matchups where you're either racing or it can put up a huge roadblock against things like Death Shadow and Gurmag Angler.
Yeah, this is a card that you really want anytime you need that kind of roadblock against Shadow and Angler, against all the creatures in Dredge, except for Narcomoeba, so the 2 ground creatures. This is a card that can hold the fort while your Mantis Riders really work them over, can't get Conflagrated or Lightning Axed, anything like that.
Yeah, and as they deploy more and more creatures on the battlefield, you actually gain life to offset things like Creeping Chill and Conflagrate.
Yeah, every time you block a Bloodghast and they return it, that's an extra life. You can start imaging this card and get 2, 3, 4 copies on the battlefield.
They just can't get it off the table once it's there because they can't target, even if it's Phantasmal Image, they can't target it with Conflagrate. So, or Dark Blast. Yeah.
And then obviously very good against Burn, which has seen a recent resurgence.
Yep.
So 3 of the top matchups. I don't think this card is great against Is It Phoenix for what it's worth because it matches up so poorly against Thing in the Ice.
It kind of bugs me. People were playing 3 and 4 copies of this card like 6 months to a year ago in Humans, and I just hated it. I thought it was really bad, and I was like, why is anyone playing this card? And like now I think it's quite good, and people are playing it again, but now I just think back, I'm like, was I the idiot?
It was probably good, bad.
I don't think so. Maybe it was good then, but I just never really.
I agree with you. I think around that time, people were playing a lot of like Jeskai control decks and things, and like the Shadow decks were down. Burn was kind of around, but not great. I did not play Champion when I was playing Humans, about a year ago. But it is quite good against Burn. It was good against Hollow One then. Because
Sure.
Hollow One and Humans were vying for the top spot for a little while.
No, that makes sense.
But now I think it's really good, and it should be very good in this matchup. So.
All right, well, let's go and get to the match. You get to be on the play because you lost the last match. It's pretty lucky for you being on the play.
It is good. One of the way, like being on the play here in game one, especially when against a discard deck, like one of the things that they can do is punch a hole in your curve with their discard spells, especially on turn one. Or if they're on the play, they just get a free turn, like play a Seer of Visions and set up. Mm-hmm. But now I get to start and put them under the pressure early, and this is a solid hand.
Okie dokie. I'm going to keep mine.
Okay, Cavern on Human, Noble Hierarch.
That's actually the one that I'm least scared of, so I'm pretty happy about that. Ooh, Stubborn Owl, actual dead card. Love to draw on that one.
Going to tag one of my Aether Vials.
All right,
that
I'm
I definitely
go to,
have. 18.
18 cycle. I'm going to go to 13.
Well, I'm going to show you a hand with a land, 2/2 drops, and 2/3 drops.
Pretty sure I'm dead. Now, I can kind of negate the Reflector Mages for a little while. I think I'm just going to take the Thalia, let him just play a Lieutenant and attack me for 2, and then I'm just going to start trying to kill his creatures. Now, I'm already down to 13, so...
Good after that?
Yeah.
1 drop, please. Champion. That hardly seems fair. That wasn't a champion at all. So if my Noble dies, there's a chance I need to name Illusion to cast something off a Phantasmal Image. So I'm willing to take a point and give up some information to do that, to leave that option on the table. And we'll attack for 2. So I'm at 19 or at 11.
Yep.
You can go. Sometimes you don't want to set up their Death Shadow, but I have 2 Reflector ranges in my hand, so I'm not super scared of a Shadow.
All right. I think I'm going to lose this game if I don't hit lands over the next 2 turns. So even though I have a push here, I think I just need to hit a land off the Thought Scour. You didn't. Here we go. Now I'm like 100% dead.
That one's pretty good. I will continue to leave open the option on this unclaimed territory. So make white and green off of these, and then black off the Cavern, and play Anafenza.
Oh.
Gets a counter on champion, and then we'll attack for 3 with Exalted.
8?
So you're at 8, I'm at 18. Pass the turn.
What you gonna do, Todd?
Oh, I can't play a Death Shadow. He's just gonna... Actually, I can. Oh, you have a land in hand. You just haven't played yet, right? Yeah.
Yes, you know about unclaimed territory. You know my entire hand.
Yeah.
2 draw steps for these.
Guess I'll say go.
So I'm expecting at least 1 removal spell on this turn. The question is what happens if there are 2. I think I'm willing to play around that and just name Illusion off this territory. Cast Phantasmal Image.
Go to 7.
So you can push these 2 and force me to copy a Noble Hierarch. But that will end with you taking 3.
Just gonna push the Dahlia.
Okay. I will copy Noble Hierarch still.
Is this a May?
No.
Is it both sides or just one?
That's his. It's one-sided graveyard removal, I think. I just have another removal spell, and if I kill the Noble, he has to target the image. Whatever. I'm just gonna dismember this. I go to 4, and then I'm gonna take.
You fetched a 7. That'll bring you to. Dismember will kill you.
No, it doesn't. It's only attack for 2.
Oh, 2. Yeah.
Oh wait, no. This is a Noble Heart.
Yeah, you a Noble.
I have no options. It's fine.
Yeah, you just can't dismember there. You have to leave yourself at 7, and then I
take
can
lethal
attack
from this attack.
No, this would be for 6.
5, 6, whatever. I'm dead.
You would be at
Doesn't
1.
matter. I can't do anything.
Dead.
Oh, I guess I could just wait for you to attack with Anafenza, and then I guess you want to attack with both because you just get more.
It's the same 6, but it's spread out and gives me a counter on this Noble.
Okay, whatever.
But then you can dismember this and still go to 1. Then you just be at 1 facing down that. When you know my hand is double Reflector Mage.
Yeah, my hand is like Death Shadow, Stubborn Denial, Battle Rage. So pretty sure I'm dead. I mean, this is kind of how this matchup goes. I've never really been a huge advocate for Shadow in a format where humans is good. The Stubborn Denial's X4 here that a lot of the Shadow decks play now instead of the 2 are just completely unplayable. Team or Battle Rage, you just can't really play that game plan. Even though they don't have spot removal per se, things like Reflector, like you just have to be the control deck. And you're a control deck that's vulnerable to Reflector Mage, which is like one of the worst possible spots to be in, honestly. Anyway, any questions while we're figuring out sideboards here?
I got a couple. There's a lot of people arguing over banning, unbanning, blah blah blah.
No, we're not talking about that today.
Exactly. So let's start with something light. And what are you guys' favorite planeswalker?
What's my favorite planeswalker?
Yeah.
Like the card or character?
What does the question mean to you, Ross? What when I say favorite planeswalker, what comes to your mind?
I think that my favorite planeswalker that I've ever played with, as far as a card goes, is Xenagos the Reveler.
I mean, he's also a pretty great character, too. Just a dude who liked to party, became a god, because everyone likes to party. We believe in you, Xenagos, party god.
a little Bacchus action.
Yeah. All right, so as far as more cards to cut, I think Faithless Looting in this matchup, we actually don't mind flooding, and Faithless Looting is there to help flood prevention. I mean, we obviously flooding is bad, but we're boarding in cards that are more expensive. Our mana is going to be taxed via Thalia, and I just don't mind drawing lands. Faithless Looting pitching spells is also kind of bad here. So I'm going to be boarding out Stubborn, Team or Battle Rage. Faithless Looting going to become like a pure Grixis control deck with some amount of... I mean, I guess, what do you think about siding out Street Wraith? You think that that's smart or not smart?
I like bringing out Street Wraith in some numbers.
Yeah, I think, that's probably fine.
I would think I would leave in 1 Battle Rage and 1 Looting and trim 2 Wraiths. Because I still think 1 Looting is nice to prevent flooding. Because you're trading 1 for 1 so often.
Okay.
And then the 1 Battle Rage is just something I always have to think about.
Okay. Do you think I should just be playing 2 Battle Rages to try to cheese you?
No.
I kind of just want to play two Battle Rages to cheese you.
Okay. Well, on my side, we've got the 7 cards we want. Anafenza is pretty weak in this matchup because it doesn't actually line up well against Todd's removal, and the graveyard hate portion of the card is irrelevant. So and then Freebooter always gets worse in the post-board games when people bring in diverse amounts of removal. And against heavy removal decks, I also like trimming on Image. We saw when I played it in game 1, it was fine to copy a Noble, but that's not what I'm trying to do with it. Here we do have Auriok Champion to pair, but I still have 2 in my deck. I don't need a million Auriok Champions.
Yeah.
And this is the card that can be stranded in my hand if Todd has a good draw with discard and removal early that doesn't let me get ahead. And I want to avoid that scenario as often as possible.
Just want to point out, cards like Collective Brutality are not good in this matchup, but they are functional. They act as a 2-mana removal spell sometimes, if not most of the time. And it is slightly better than Street Wraith, which taxes my life total, which is under extreme duress here. So I'm going to leave in the Battle Rage and the Faithless Looting just because I don't want to board out Street Wraith. Or I don't want to have Street Wraith in my deck. I just don't think I'm going to... I'd rather be able to use my Dismember a little more aggressively, so I can kind of like steal game sometimes with a Battle Rage,
Especially with Staffcaster and Jace.
Right. All right. Any more questions while we're shuffling up?
Yeah, got a lot of good questions. What needs to change for Jeskai to be good again?
I mean, I think that the card Arclight Phoenix is just very strong. I think if you want to build Jeskai, you need to not play Logic Knot, and you need to either have a sideboard plan that allows you to side out Snapcaster, and you need to play like 3 Rest in Peace. I think it's more about the build of the deck than anything, and like Planeswalkers are not very good against Arclight Phoenix. Counter spells are not that good against Arclight Phoenix. Just gotta metagame towards beating the deck a bit. You can't just play the same thing you've been playing for the last, whatever. I know there was one tournament a while back where in order to beat Dredge, Ben Nikolic actually ended up playing like 3 Settle the Wreckage in his deck. Just like a pretty drastic change from one tournament to the next. And like no one has done that yet to beat Phoenix. No one has done that kind of thing. It's all just like still playing a bunch of lightning bolts and lightning healers. Like, dude, they have Thing in the ice. What are you doing? Like,
Yeah, I don't think Jeskai was that good to begin with.
you shut your mouth.
But it really needs a metagame where those lightning bolt effects are good. And
Right.
the only reason Isn't Phoenix is playing Bolt is because you can play it proactively. It's not a great removal spell right now. And the top two decks being Isn't Phoenix and Dredge, these decks built around recursive threats or threats that dodge Bolt, are problematic for Jeskai. You need to get back to a metagame where humans and infect and cheap creatures are things that people are doing.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna keep my opener, and I got some stuff to talk about when we get to keep it though. But how's yours?
Mine's fine. Definitely keep it.
All right. Now I have a couple of Thoughtseizes, and I would love to Thoughtseize on one here, but with one land Mishra's Bauble and a hand that kind of wants more mana, as well as a Fatal Push that I can potentially use on one if Ross leads with a creature and not an Ether Vial. I think I'm just gonna bobble myself, and then if the card is bad, I can still Thoughtseize. So. Last up with no land, so we're gonna go to 17. Thoughtseize down to 15.
So what was the situation where you weren't going to Thoughtseize?
If the card on top was a land, I was just gonna bobble myself, land go, draw it, then you play a 1-drop, then I Fatal Push.
Okay. Well, that's a tilt because my hand's a little weak to a discard spell, having only 1/1-drop.
Okay. Let me look at my hand.
I would be really surprised if Todd took anything other than Champion.
Yeah, I'll just knock you off the 1-drop. That's fine.
You're at 15.
Yeah, and then I'll draw a card off with bobble.
Yeah. Name human with territory and pass the turn.
All right, draw for turn.
Already have a Ziggurat to play Image, and this Unclaimed Territory means this card could be a Dismember that Todd has to worry about.
We'll go and play the bobble. I'm going to take a look at the top card of your deck. I'm just curious.
Is it good?
Okay. And it's maybe good if the card in your hand is a land. We'll go to 13 and play a VP. And say go and draw.
Oh, Vern's probably like, how is he the vice president? I don't understand.
I don't understand.
The Champion would have been a lot better last turn.
Oh, I know. But if you have a land, it's still okay. Like
Yeah.
next turn, you can go crazy bananas.
Username Sunset needs some help. He asks you guys to tell him his deck is good, so he can easily justify his financial and emotional investment in it. Didn't tell me what deck. He just needs you to say it.
You know what? It's Magic. Every deck is unique, and every deck is valuable and viable.
I'm going to name Fatal Push with this Meddling Mage.
Okay.
Pass the turn.
Like you said at the Invitational, like if you have a deck you love, just wait a bit. It'll be good again.
Right. You are exactly right. All right. I'm going to loot. Huh. I think I just don't want to Thoughtseize anymore. We'll transform.
Telepath Unbound.
Yep. We'll shrink this boy. And actually, do I want to do that? Hold on. Let me actually think out this turn. So
Here's your first burn. Silent Woes says that's way too wholesome to actually be Todd.
wow. Wow. Let's go to 12.
They're on to us, Taylor. They know too much.
I'm gonna go to 10. Dismember this.
That's a tilt.
I'm gonna minus Thoughtseize and go to 8.
I don't have a land, but I do have a Reflector Mage that I assume you'll be taking. Seems like Todd has left himself with a threat in his hand, and Reflector Mage is the best card against that, whereas the rest of my hand is pretty redundant. So even though it's the card I can't, cast.
I'm gonna take Champion of the Parish.
Okay.
Because it allows him to play 2 threats if he draws a land, which could potentially overwhelm me. And I can actually just weather a Reflector Mage right now pretty easily.
Reasonable.
So I'm at 8. Yep.
Play Athalia's Lieutenant. Hold on.
Brown
Name human. That's pretty good.
I'll go to...
These planeswalkers are another reason that image is a liability in this matchup.
All right, I'm going to say go.
Oh, yeah, targeted. Bye.
Bye!
That was a good draw.
Go ahead and play it.
But you have a fatal push. Like a jerk.
What?
I mean,
No, I have fetched Death Shadow, and I just didn't want to play it into the Reflector Mage.
attack the
I
same.
have fetch push.
Lie.
Bye! I'm going to just do a swamp. I'm at 7.
Yeah.
There's the unwholesome Todd they were looking for.
The problem here is that there's no other way I can play that turn that draws out the fatal push. And I can't play Lieutenant and something else, so the Lilligant is going to eat it. The Reflector Mage doesn't do anything. The image gets eaten by either Planeswalker.
All right.
I just have to hope to draw another.
That's a good draw. Inquisition, your Reflector Mage. I'll just take up both and play Shadow. Wait, this should be at 4, not 5. I'm sorry. Because it was at 3 getting hit with Reflector Mage.
Yeah, you're at
Or
7.
Mana Strider. I'm at 7, yes. So it's 6/6 Shadow. You could spend 2 mana and play a 0/0. Or a -7, -7 rather.
How do I get back in this game?
Watch your mic.
Sorry. I think it's with Auriok Champion. So I can go Auriok Champion, image it, have 2 good cards, and then Lieutenant and make them even bigger. Mm-hmm. So I think I just don't play anything.
I agree.
Pass.
So currently no creatures in the grave, but I can just Inquisition away the image so that what Ross just said is his only way out doesn't happen. And with 2 Planeswalkers on the battlefield and no creatures cast, I think that just doing that is fine. And I think I want to Inquisition over Thoughtseize, even though it makes my Shadow into an 8/8. All right, so G for 6. And I'm going to play my land tapped in case I drop Battle Rage, and then I'll take this up. Your turn.
Pass the turn.
6.
I'm at 8.
Up. Your turn.
Lieutenant.
Sure.
Lieutenant.
Yeah.
2 here. You can go.
Push this one. Where are you going?
This ultimate's on 7, right?
Yeah. He can. I mean, if he had played an Auriok Champion there, I think you can technically beat it because I'm at 7, and you might be able to Lieutenant enough times onto it to kill me in 2 attacks before I lethal you. But
seems unlikely.
I agree.
Especially when you have a Jace Vryn's Prodigy to shrink it. Or Jace.
Oh, yeah. Dude, JCP is nice. Looked pretty good there.
Vice President.
Yeah.
All right, while you're shuffling up, I got some questions.
Hit me.
Containment Priest is being one of the Horizons, kind of
Speculations.
theories,
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on how that would warp the format? And also, someone added in, would that make Jeskai better?
I don't necessarily think it would make Jeskai better. I think it would make humans better.
And so I've always been wary of playing Containment Priest in decks that play Ether Vial, but I'll say this. It does just shut down so many decks in the format. It stops Phoenix, stops Dredge. And those are 2 of the top 4 decks right now. And if you're doing that, then it doesn't really matter if you're turning off your own Ether Vials. So I think it does make humans better. It does make any mid-range or control white-based deck better too. So I honestly don't think that it's gonna get reprinted. I think it's actually just a little too strong as a hate card, personally.
I'd like to see it. I think that's the kind of hate card that's good because it's just on a bear.
Sure.
Got another one for you. Standard player looking for advice on how to transition to modern. Or what things to think about before they do.
Mulligan more aggressively.
I mean, are you talking about like I don't know the frame of the question? Is it because like
Basically,
what deck do I start with or
Standard players interested in going to play
Just
more modern.
see it? Watch a bunch of coverage. See if there's any one deck that looks like it is your alley or your speed, and then pick it up and start playing it. And whether you do it in real life or on Magic Online, completely up to you. Yeah, I don't know. That's a really tough, broad question. I'm not really.
I like
sure.
that advice too. Pick a deck that you like and are think that you're going to be happy playing for 6 months to a year at the very least, and work on that deck. Know it well. I'm mulligan aggressively.
All right,
My hand's great.
mine too.
I didn't see your hand, Russ. I need to see it real quick. Oh, that is great.
Human champion.
Are you a human champion? Or?
Sometimes.
16 Thoughtseize.
2 lands, 3 2-drops.
That's a tough one.
Well, my deck can't beat an Auric champion, so I'm just going to take that one and hope for the best. Your turn.
Thalia, get a counter attack for 2.
14.
You can go.
Huh. Fetch to 13. Thoughtseize you to 11.
I drew a Noble Hierarch.
Take the Meddling Mage. Go.
You went to 11? Or?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Nice top deck. I'm just kidding.
Attack for 6.
6? I'm at 5?
You can go.
I think I'm going to win this game very easily, actually.
You 7 million shadows.
I have 1, but my hand is not bad otherwise. Draw. And I had to just make sure I got full value out of my Thoughtseize there, which is why I did that instead of playing a Shadow last turn. So I go. Currently it's an 8/8, which checks him. Checks all of Ross's stuff. Block.
Sack Canopy.
Yep.
Block canopy.
Okay.
I assume there's a removal spell coming here. So
Yeah.
I guess I'll attack with both.
Fetch, push.
So here you go to 4.
Yep.
And then 2.
Ross's Peel, the Reflector Mage, sealed the deal.
Little slip there with the salt.
I was going to say solidified cemented his position, whatever. Like, I have Battle Rage in hand, and I also have Lily. So if I just get to untap, I get to untap, push this, untap, start Lily minus or plussing on those. And then if I ever get a spot where I can combo kill you with Battle Rage, I do. Bit unfortunate. And I think I have no outs here, so let's see what we got. Yep. Alright, I'm dead.
Just nothing.
I mean, I can't. I have Battle Rage, Thoughtseize, Lily. So,
Yeah, and Death Shadow, yeah.
The Reflector Mage just shuts me down too hard. And Reflector Mage has always been the reason why that deck was good against Shadow, because you just take away my ability to play defense, or you get to shut me off from replaying an next turn, so it's just this huge tempo black hole. And you have to do so much work to put either a Gurmag or a Death Shadow on the battlefield that the 2-turn reset with Reflector Mage is just so bad.
And then the turns that you spend casting Serum Visions, Thought Scour, those kinds of cards, or just discard spells are cards that I'm extending to the battlefield.
Yeah.
You know, one of the reasons that discard spells historically have not been good against humans is because their curve is so homogenous. You know, no matter what card you take, they're usually playing something. And you saw it was best in game 2 when you were able to take my 1-drop and then I didn't do anything that turn.
Yeah. So in that scenario, that game that game just then, one alternate route, I didn't have Battle Rage in my hand at the time, so that's why I chose to take Auric Champion over Thalia, knowing that I can potentially draw to a Thalia, or draw to a Temur Battle Rage, and it's pretty hard to play through a Thalia. I could have actually just taken Thalia. You play probably Meddling Mage named Fatal Push, and then I just lose because my hand is just Fatal Push, instead of playing the Auric Champion, I think. And then I'm in a pretty bad spot after that. So it could have cascaded differently. Ross could have potentially played in a different way that allowed me to get back in the game. But for the most part, that Thalia, his hand being those 3 2-drops specifically, made it impossible for me to really figure a way out with the sequence of draws that involved Reflector Mage. Obviously, if he just doesn't draw Reflector Mage, I have a chance to just kill him with Temur Battle Rage next turn if he just blocks incorrectly. So that's kind of cool, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, tight game.
Yeah,
came down to one good draw step, and that means we're tied.
Yeah, tied. Any questions, comments, or burns before we get to the next one?
No burns.
I was saying boo earns.
I'm not gonna. I wrote down burn instead of my actual question. So I take down a few for you.
Burn.
First, a couple decks people are asking if they're viable. First one, Esper Control rather than Jeskai Control. So you would have more like Fatal Push and Path to Exile.
Well, Shaheen Sarani is always going to say, hey, you should play Esper Control because man just loves Lingering Souls for no reason. I don't think so. I mean, obviously, Fatal Push is pretty good right now. But at the same time, like...
There's a structural reason why the successful control decks have played red removal supplemented with Path. And that's because the red removal spells give them the ability to turn the corner against combo archetypes in Modern and actually clock them. You know, you sit there and you interact a little bit on the early turns. You've got your Logic Knots and your spell snares and your cryptic commands. And then on turn 5 or 6, you go end of turn, bolt, snap, bolt you, and next turn like helix you, and they're under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and then it just all it takes is like one Celestial Colonnade hit to actually kill them. And you know, with people doing damage to themselves with fetch lands and shock lands, yeah, like the red has always been, in my opinion, the reason to play Jeskai, not the white or the blue. Like you can just change white. Like I would rather play Grixis Control, I think, than Esper Control, because Fatal Push and Path to Exile do functionally the same thing. You know, they answer the slightly larger creatures. Obviously, Path goes even further than that.
Missing Gurmag Angler and Hollow One and some other cards in the format is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, but I mean, you can also just play 2-mana removal that deals with that. Like Terminate's not that bad right now. Dreadbore kills Planeswalkers. Like you can do certain things to supplement the disadvantages from playing Fatal Push over Path. But you know, I don't know.
There's also a need for exile removal against Dredge and Phoenix. Path is pretty important. You're a reactive deck. You need to deal with the widest range possible, and Path gives you that range. But Red gives you something that, you know, the answer to beating these decks isn't necessarily loading up that hard on the removal spells that answer Thing in the Ice and Crackling Drake. Mm-hmm. The issue is that the control decks aren't able to pressure you, and they have a lot of like dead space in their decks that they give you time to draw back into it after you use your removal. You know, maybe having a bunch of pushes and being able to keep killing things so you don't have the air of the red removal would help you in matchups like Phoenix and take advantage of their, you know, nominal low threat density. But it's going to hurt you really hard in a lot of other matchups, and you just can't do things like that in Modern. Even with 20% of the format being Phoenix, you still are not incentivized to go that hard towards beating it.
Mm. All right.
Next deck, Black-White Tokens.
I've heard this a couple times now this week, and I just don't know. Okay, I haven't played with or against that deck in like 4 years.
Sure.
Roasted.
It plays a main deck Auric Champion, which is probably pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I personally, I've never seen the draw of the deck. The disruption package is not that great. The clock is not that great. The advantage you get from playing it is that you go so wide that traditional spell removal decks can't really do much about it. So you're kind of inherently favored against the likes of Jund or other just like spell removal based decks. Now in the current metagame though, like Thing in the Ice is a huge deal, and if you are playing tokens, like Thing in the Ice is a pretty good answer. Obviously, you can play Push or Path or some combination of the two.
Discard spells.
Yeah, and you can potentially deal with it, but like, are you really dealing with it?
I think it's supposed to be this like next level mid-range deck where, you know, people are high on Golgari right now because it has a lot of good tools against Phoenix and just made good hate cards against Dredge and sideboard a bunch.
Saw how that worked on Tuesday.
Sure. And this is like the Golgari deck that still has all those tools, but also is good in the like mid-range mirrors, the pseudo mirrors there. So I think that's the idea. But I think that deck is just significantly worse than a deck like Golgari against the field, and I think the Golgari's good matchup against Phoenix is overstated. We saw Phoenix handle it, in admittedly 3 close games, but you were able to like get your graveyard hate down, play some removal spells on my things, and I just ground through it. And I think most people are prepared for that kind of strategy at this point. So I don't think going harder towards that end is where you want to be.
All right, I have a quick question for you.
What?
We actually have like a lot of time left today. I just checked the clock. Do you want to play another game of Humans versus Death Shadow?
Are you just trying to get it so you can win this match and keep your marbles?
No, we'll tie this.
This is already decided. This is for funsies.
Oh no, that's not how it works.
Oh, I see.
Why don't we move on to the third match, and then when we finish with extra time, we'll figure out something else fun to do.
Well,
Okay,
I got one more
sounds
question
good.
for you.
All right,
Yeah.
While we're in Modern, because good question, I think, about so we got our top tier decks, Dredge, Arclight, all that kind of stuff. What deck are we not thinking of that could just kind of come out of nowhere and be like, oh yeah, this deck?
I think Humans, which is one of the reasons I'm showcasing it today, is that I think Tron is being under-respected right now. There's not a lot of ceremonious rejections in these Izzet Phoenix sideboards, and they're loading up on things to like Pyromancer Ascension that are kind of slow.
Yeah.
So those two among known archetypes, if you want to get like wacky, I wouldn't really advise playing any of these, but on paper they match up reasonably well against the top decks. Things like Ad Nauseam and Martyr Proc are in that category.
I like Madcap Experiment. Platinum Imperion's actually pretty good right now. If everyone's just like lightning bolting and stuff, Fatal Push, Bolt, like that. Not a lot of decks can actually just kill it. I mean, obviously, finding a way to win the game with an 8/8 is not doesn't seem like it should be that hard, and it actually is sometimes. But I mean, what kills it? People are
big
playing.
conflict rate.
Yeah, but like you also have like Remand in your deck, so like
Okay, you're trying to do this. I'm just.
I'm not just like Simian Spirit Guide making 8/8. Like that's not my jam.
Well, I was thinking about just putting 4 Madcaps and 2 Empyreans in my Izzet Phoenix sideboard.
That's gas. Can you please do that this weekend, please?
You have been
Look, your whatever your Izzet Charm slot is, you can just play a Sea Beyond. Just put it back in the deck. Shuffle it back in the deck. Come on. Oh, look at it.
That's a lot of sideboard space, Todd.
Yeah, but it's awesome.
It is sweet. I'll think about it.
Okay, it's something that I've just been thinking about. Like, imagine playing like a Temur Reclamation deck in Modern, and you just get to go like Madcap and then untap with Cryptic Command back up after you put your 8/8 Platinum Imperial on. Maybe that's pipe dream, but
it's a lot of things going right.
Oh, but you can also play Quicken. You can Quicken Madcap Imperion.
You're resolving 3 4-mana spells there.
It's Quicken Platinum Imperion. Quicken Madcap. That's it.
Yeah, with the lethal conflagrate on the stack.
Aha, got him.
Gotcha.
The problem is you can't really play fetch lands in that deck because sometimes you resolve Imperion and then you just don't get to play any more lands.
Yeah. Pro tip, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Can't pay life when your life total can't change.
It's true. All right, so we're going to call it quits there for match 2. We still got one more match on the way. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to play Legacy. I got a 4-color Arclight Phoenix deck built by David Reshka for SEG Syracuse. He made top 32. Deck looks sweet. I've been messing around with it, and a number of builds kind of based around it. Uses Land Grant as a free spell with Arclight Phoenix kind of acting as a part of the mana base, which I really like. I think it's super smart. It's a bit of a small ball Phoenix deck.
Genius.
Bit of a small ball version of Phoenix. It doesn't play Dark Ritual Buried Alive, and instead plays a more fair game. Uses Thing in the Ice, Manamorphose. Looks a lot more like the modern version, but it still has like Force of Will, Cabal Therapy, things like that. So it's a really interesting build of the deck, and we're going to see today how good it is against what you're bringing to the table.
The new Legacy Darling.
Yeah.
Is it Delver? We got some Terramanders. Got our typical Delver package. Delver, Forest, Days, Wasteland.
Yep.
Just matched up with Terramander. For the most part, Delver decks have been 3 colors for one reason, and it's that you needed blue for the card draw and the counter spells. You needed 1 color to splash to get good removal spells, and then you needed to splash another color to get good secondary threats after Delver Secrets.
Yeah, Delver Secrets was obviously like the primary. Being a 1-mana 3/2 body allowed you to really pressure your opponent with Daze and Wasteland and things like that. But it didn't really do a lot of the heavy lifting, especially if your opponent was able to just kill your first threat.
Yeah, so you need backup threats. And we've had True Name, which is in blue and nice. But the other colors, you can get Young Pyromancer, you got Deathrite Shaman for years, you had Stoneforge Mystic sometimes, Tarmogoyf for years, and Temur Delver. Now we just have Terramander, which is in blue, works really well, doesn't cut away your graveyard, so if you draw them in multiples, it's not awkward like a card like Gurmag Angler. It flies. It's proven to be quite good. So now you just don't need that third color because all your good threats are in blue and red.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of the pressure off of an opposing True Name Nemesis. Like an opposing True Name Nemesis not only was just like an unbeatable threat a lot of times, but it also allowed your opponent to play defense against a Gurmag Angler or sometimes 2 Gurmag Anglers to the extent where True Name Nemesis became the card that mattered the most. But now that you have Delver and Terramander that fly, as well as Young Pyromancer to go wide, and True Name Nemesis of your own, you can kind of just ignore theirs sometimes. And I think that that's a huge upgrade for the deck on that front.
And also very important if you're just in Is It colors, which are not colors that deal with True Name well. So now we just don't need the other color. We got a better mana base as a result.
Yep. I know Austin Collins only played 2 Volcanic Island. I mean, that's crazy.
Seems low.
That's crazy. I was just like, 2?
I could see 3.
2?
Right, if you want to play 3, sure.
3's fine.
But 2.
2?
I mean, I know they're expensive, Austin, and you're a small child, but you've top it at 3 Invitationals. Like, your hat costs way too much money. Take some money out of your hat budget and invest it into a third dual land.
You know,
and Ross yells at Cloud.
If I was 16 years old and if I top 8 or top 4 3 Invitationals in a row, I would be living in Chuck E. Cheese. That's where I would
literally live there. I would be added to the band. I would become the lead singer.
They'd have a placard just says this stage is brought to you by Austin Collins. Like,
I would be so bloated from my pizza consumption.
Oh yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, we're gonna be right back with that. Don't go anywhere. Versus Live, just a bit.